So we'll close off the end wall of this building now, this back wall. To do that, we'll put some end bay support columns in at third equal spacings in between this grid. So just for now, I'll temporarily divide that up. I'll change to a layer. We'll call this the portal column. It's not actually a portal column, it's just going to be an end bay column, but that'll do to put those columns on that layer. While I'm on that layer, I'll go and grab my tape measure tool. Now, just double checking, we originally set this out at 24,900, so I'm going to divide that into 2. So 24,900 divided by 2. We'll put a line through the middle. Then I'm going to divide it by 4, or divide this by 2, which is 12,450. So if we go 12,450 divided by 2, we've got a set outline there. Now again, 12,450 divided by 2, and I've evenly divided all of that. So you saw how I can actually enter in the / as the divide by sign when I'm trying to put these dimensions into SketchUp. So I'll have 3 end bay columns going in these locations. I've already downloaded from steelweb.info. I've downloaded a DWG AutoCAD drawing file of a 200 UB25, which we'll be using on this end bay. So while we're in portal column, I'll go into File, Import, and scroll around to the directory where you've been told this is saved to, or get it yourself from steelweb.info, steelweb.info, and I'll just have to get to the correct directory. Okay, and I'm after 200 UB25. So I'm opening up that. I'll just have to see what the units are. Should be in millimeters, so double check on options that it's millimeters. Okay, and we'll open that file. Close that dialog box. Not too sure. Oh yes, this always happens. It puts up layer 0 again. So we'll go to our layer dialog box and we'll turn off layer 0. Now somewhere near our origin, I guess, that file, that import should have gone. Now I just can't make it out for the moment. Probably gone right there. It is. Okay, so you just have to, it'll be somewhere around the origin that it goes by default, and you can see where this has occurred. If I tip up and then pan, it's gone just next to our other column. So we'll move it out of the way for now so that we can see it. And when you're moving this, make sure you're moving it from somewhere in clear space to somewhere else in clear space, so that it doesn't change in the Z direction. In the blue axis direction, we want it to stay at the same location. I'm going to rotate it once I've moved it out of the way there. I'll rotate it somewhere on itself, doesn't really matter, by an angle, turning around an angle of 90 degrees. Now when you are rotating things, you can actually turn it around and it will snap to the 90 degree position. I never trust it. I just rotate and give a direction and then type 90 and press enter. Because you might, depending on your mouse control, you're probably better off typing the figure rather than letting it snap. Okay, so I'll then pick up that object across and pick it up very, very carefully. First of all, I'll pick the move, and I'll pick up very, very carefully on one of the midpoints of the web member, like I'm doing just there. So one of those midpoints to get the center of it, and then I'll just locate that temporarily along the main grid line. In fact, I might go to the intersection for now, but it won't be quite right, won't be quite correct. So when you get that first of all position there, zoom in a bit closer. The graphics card here on me is I'm losing my grids as I zoom up a bit further. If I can deselect that, and it might have a different effect. No, it doesn't. Seem to lose my grid lines as I go further. I'll try and go in further still. Okay. Alright. Well, what I'm trying to do, I'll give you the idea. I'll actually move it further away so that I know what I'm doing here. So I'll select it again. Move it off the grid line a touch, something like that. And I'm then going to move it now, very carefully zoom in, very carefully get the midpoint of the flange, one of the midpoints. Zoom out, come across on green axis, press and hold shift key to constrain it to the green axis, and then click the grid line. Now I'll just zoom in to make sure that I have done that correctly. I'll probably lose the grid lines again. Yes, I have, but it should have. If I've done that correctly, it will maintain the center of the flange to that grid line. So while that one's selected, then I'll copy, move and control so that I can copy in green axis direction onto that grid line, another copy in green axis direction onto that grid line. Okay, now what we've got to do is we've got to push-pull each of those up to the correct height. So we'll probably explode them, turn them into a face, and then push-pull them. So because they're such a tiny object and the building is much bigger, it's getting a little bit difficult. You've got to control your zooming. Okay, so I'll select the object. I'll have to select it. Proving a bit difficult to select. When it's selected, I can right click. Get it again, selected. And I want to explode it. Very carefully leave your mouse on top of one of the lines after you select it. And then we explode it so it turns into lines. Let's make sure what the layers are for those lines. So I select all of those lines, and you see it's created its own layer called 200UB25 that came from the AutoCAD file. I want to send them all to the portal column layer, so they're on the portal column layer. Now, so I should then be able to delete the 200UB25 layer over here. So select it over in the layers dialog box and press delete layer. Delete the contents on it that are on it. I'm not sure what contents there would be left there now. So now that I've created this shape, I'll just trace over the top of one of the lines, turn it into a face, and then we'll start push-pulling. So I then want you to push-pull each of those. You might have to do it in a few stages, and if you're clever, you can actually push, while you're holding push-pull down, you can actually use your scroll wheel to zoom at the same time. But I'll just push-pull that one to show you in that location. Now let's decide how high we're going to take this. We won't actually make it connect perfectly to the rafter because we'd like to be able to triple click it in future. So I'll just even by eye, it'll be a structural detail, just even by eye, and then we can maybe orbit round. So I'm doing all of this as I'm still holding the my left mouse button down with my finger, and then I'm using my other finger to then do the scrolling. But I don't want to go up and connect it to the actual rafter like that. I want to take it up and just leave it a little bit underneath. Make sure it just doesn't connect, and that'll be close enough for our purposes. Something like that, so just so that it's not connected. Probably to save doing that again, I'll actually put a window. The other columns disappeared when we deleted those contents before, but that's okay because we've still got this one, so I'm going to triple click it, and then I'm going to make a copy of it. So green axis, hold the shift key to constrain it, and that one across there, so that one should be the same. Same thing here. I'll copy it, hold the shift key down to there, and now just this center one can be push-pulled a little bit further. take it up a little bit further if I can grab it. Yeah. So don't want it to actually intersect with the rafter. You just want to leave a tiny little gap like we've got there. That'll be fine. And they're the end bay columns, so we'll just stop there.